Good evening, everyone. It's Carpo here. It's the evening scene out in my backyard. Hope everyone's doing well tonight. Of course, I say tonight, it may be today or this morning or the evening, wherever you're at. I guess I should cut right to the point. I wanted to talk about the problems that we face as a species as far as our planet. And it feels like people don't know where to turn, who to talk to. People have enough concerns about their own personal health and well-being, and it's very difficult for us to extend that to worry about something as large as the entirety of our planet. So what's at the forefront of this problem we have with our environment? Well, I'm going to step out and say it's global warming for one, to start. That's the most important pressing issue. And as much as over the years I've gone back and forth over whether or not it's man-made, whether or not it's a celestial thing, whether or not it's just the earth heating up, or whether it's just a cycle, I was forced to go through a lot of different charts and evidence and listen to a lot of different scientists and their opinions on why global warming is real or not, and then on top of that, why it's man-made or not. So I've come to the conclusion in my personal research that the Earth is on a natural heating trend. However, humans happen to be having the Industrial Revolution right alongside that and boosting those CO2 levels up to amazingly high proportions, higher than they've ever been recorded, higher than any ice core sample has ever shown. So those people who are the naysayers who say, well, the Earth has done this before, they're mistaken. That's pure and simple. You can look at the evidence and you can say, well, that's not real evidence, or it's not concluded, or there's no settled science. The fact is, humans are causing the massive global warming that we're seeing right now. That's my take on it. And I'll have to agree with the well over 90% of scientists who would say as much. So getting that out of the way, the first thing would be to curb carbon emissions. But that's never going to happen, unfortunately. And that's kind of why we're at a dead end. All the powers that be are invested in coal and oil, and pretty much anybody, all the southern states are involved in oil production and coal mining. Anybody who says anything about trying to go green, yeah, I've heard senators and these, quote, leaders from southern states, such as Alabama being one of the worst offenders. I'm sorry to say, but Alabama is probably the worst state as far as government that we have in our union, and I say that unapologetically. But they will say things to the effect of, I've heard one guy say, "What is this green energy anyway? We've got people to support. We have families. We have coal mines, and this is the way we've always done it." And I say, that's just along the lines of the same people who say, well, this is the way my forefathers did it, therefore this is the way it should be done, just so long as it serves me, Meanwhile, the people are dying, and the world is dying because of the choices that we're making as a species. So damn right I feel like it's important to speak out on these problems, because those who have money and those who are in the pockets of officials are the ones who can promote this kind of nonsense, such as saying that global warming is still a theory or that it's unsettled science, which is ludicrous. And, if Greenland and Antarctica continue to melt at this rate, the oceans will probably rise a couple feet within the next 50 years, if not sooner. And, you can guarantee, at this point, we can pretty much guarantee that Manhattan will be underwater in the next 50 years. And the implications that has for worldwide economy as well as mass migration is beyond comprehension. And people don't realize this is the single reason why this is so important. Those who live inland never seem to have much concern about global sea level rise, not realizing the percentage of people who actually live on the coast ranges, or on the coastlines. And not only that, how much business and commerce, how many shipping lanes, how many barges and giant ships come into these ports. And if they begin to rise, unfortunately, we can't keep up with it because our infrastructure is at a maximum. In fact, in the U.S., in 2016, our road maintenance fund will run out. Absolutely no money. And the Republican people who were arguing against it, they were, I think it was Boehner. Boehner was asked what he was going to do about it. And he said that he wasn't concerned. And he said, we'll figure it out when we come to it. And I say, well, we've come to it. We can't keep our we can't keep our roads up. We can't keep our bridges up. And point being that when we need to start fixing our coastlines and raising up our ports, it's not going to be able to happen. Because right now we're shipping all of our extra metal to China so they can build their giant empty cities. And if you're not familiar with these empty cities, I urge you to do some research. The Chinese economy, they make it appear as if they're doing really well. What's happened is they built all these monster cities that can suit millions of people. In fact, they built one replica of Paris with an Eiffel Tower and everything. And very few people live there. I mean, it's a ghost town. And there are many of these giant, not just ghost towns, but ghost cities that are half completed. And they're all built with U.S. steel that's been imported because we're shipping all of our, basically what we're doing is dismantling Chicago, Cleveland. We're sending all our metal over to China so they can build their factories. And the U.S. is we're done. So anyway, I'm not sure exactly where else to go with it, except for the fact that if we really want to make an impact on our world, the only thing we can really do is speak out about the issues that we find to be important. And we're not going to agree on all the issues. There are going to be plenty of people who are going to say that global warming's a myth, and that's fine. In the past, I've generally avoided arguments over this kind of science only because I can only go so far in trying to express how important things are. And there's always a person who says it's not true, or that it's not worth the time because we've got to live now and we have to keep our food on our table. And I say, what we have to think about is the future of our planet, not the future of our own personal lives. And I know that it's hard to think past that, and that's one of the most difficult things. But if you're a coal miner and all you know is mining coal, having somebody tell you that it's time to give that up, I don't think most people take that very lightly. And if you've been working in oil all your life, then they're going to convince you that that's all there is too. But the fact being, the people who really want it to stay that way are not the people who work in the business as much as the people who run it, because that's where the money's at. These people are making billions upon billions of dollars. They're putting it offshore. They're taking all their money out of the economy, putting it into other countries so they can slip past our tax system and try to totally fuck us over and destroy our environment doing it. Mining oil, pumping oil out of the mountains of Venezuela and other countries and just leaving these huge chaotic messes, shale going into Nigeria, devastating the forests. The rivers down there are just completely covered with oil because the locals have had their land stolen by the oil companies because the state will take their land if there's oil on it. And then they have no other recourse but to tap into the pipeline illegally that goes through their ex-property and start filling up their own containers and then taking it into the jungle and processing it into petroleum and then dumping all the slag and all the sludge, all the tar down into the forest and on the river. And the pipelines continue to leak and drip everywhere. And it sounds grim, it sounds bleak, but the thing is, it is. It's bleak. It's tough. Those who live in a nice atmosphere and a nice environment don't have to think about these things. And I'm one of them. I'm in my backyard right now, and it's comfortable. I have very little pollution in my town. I don't have any major factories. I live in Portland. I have, all the potential as an American to do, at least to an extent, as much as I want. A lot of freedoms that I don't take for granted. But I also realize that my rights are being stripped away consistently by people whose only motive is profit. And when that comes to destroying the homeland that I live on, the planet that I live on, it's time to speak out. And in the last few days, I've really come to terms with what's important to me and realized that, I'll be damned if I'm going to sit back and let this shit happen without at least speaking my point on it. And So I'm going to do so. And that's what I'm doing right now. I've heard a lot of bullshit. I've heard a lot of opinions, and I've heard a lot of arguments on the internet and elsewhere. I haven't watched news shows or anything in a long time, but I do catch a glimpse of the stupid arguments that go on when I watch shows like Jon Stewart, or my new favorite is John Oliver. Hilarious. I love what he's got to say. And, John Oliver is like, should be a modern hero for the shit he's bringing to the table right now. But anyway, we've got a lot of different opinions out there. And everybody has a different idea of what's important. And one thing I've realized is that I've been too passive in my approach over the last few years by saying, well, people are just people. Because I can't live by that anymore. My heart and my gut tell me that just doesn't work. If I just accept people as being people, when they're saying things that are completely stupid and arrogant and ignorant, and they're doing it just for the sake of either looking right or because somebody told them that that's what's true, I just feel like they need to be called out, because in this society, there's no more room for passivity. We just can't handle it anymore. It doesn't work. People are going to get angry, and they're going to find a way to speak out. And each one of you will do it in your own way if you choose to. That's why I choose not to join any